y'all been? How y'all doing? I hope y'all have been following God. And this is my channel. Welcome to A Step of Faith Ministries. This is the ministry that, of course, God came up with. God came up with the name and everything else, and He's called me to lead ministry. So we're going to start this online, and we're just going to go from there. Let God do the rest. Let God be God, So the topic of today, we're going to talk about how good God is. So God has been amazing lately. Not even lately, all the time. God is just so amazing. And the way that God comes through every single time is amazing. And when you truly just follow God, you will see how God will move in your life. You will see His hands in everything. I mean, everything. When you surrender stuff to God, God takes care of it. He takes care of it, and He just handles it. So yeah, when you really just let God be God in your life, you will see how amazing He is. You will see how His hands are in everything. You will see how He's protecting you. You will see how He loves you, how He reassures you in everything. And I know there's women out here that can relate with everything that I probably done been through. The reason as to why I'm even on fire for God is because God saved me from a lot of things. I used to be in an abusive relationship years ago, and to this day, we have a child, and you know how that goes. But I was in a relationship with my son's father because I have 2 kids, y'all. I have a daughter and I have a son. I was in this world, yes, but I would never regret my kids. But yeah, I was in a abusive relationship with my son's father, and it was pretty much twice where I almost got my life took because of him. And at the time, I wasn't really following God. I didn't know God. I didn't know scripture. I didn't know anything about God. I just knew there was a God. That's all I knew. But through time, as I was in that relationship, I felt a shift. I felt a change. I felt as if I needed to leave. And when I felt that I needed to leave, I had the Bible verses on my phone where God would communicate with me through the Bible verses. And one night, y'all, God put this Bible verse in my face. And I can't remember fully what it said, but I remember that it was talking about how angels are having conversations about me and that God is finna come through. Something like that. I'm gonna show y'all. But yeah, that popped up one night, and when I seen it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let God be God. Even though I wasn't following Him and I was in this world bad. Through time, God came through. Because at the time, I was in a whole nother state. Mind you, my son's father, he was in Mississippi. And I stay in Louisiana at the moment. And, I wanted to be a family. I wanted us to be happy. I wanted us to have a happily ever after ending, And he invited me to come out there. So I went out there and got stuck. So through all of that mess, all that chaos, God came through. Soon as the relationship was getting worse, He was starting putting His hands on me. He was starting to disrespect me and all of that. When it started getting worse, God came through. I kept letting his family know, like, hey, I want to go. I'm ready to go back home. I can't do this. I was losing my mind. I was literally losing myself, to where I would shut myself in a room for hours in the dark while my son would be asleep, and I would just be sitting there crying because of the arguments and because of everything that we were going through. I was so tired, and God seen that I was tired, and God made a way. Somehow God used people that were in his family to help me get home, help me and my son get back home to Louisiana. You can't tell me that isn't God. You can't tell me that wasn't God. So as we were in the process of even coming back home, of course, he was freaking out and trying to stop us, the enemy. He was trying to stop us from coming back home and all this other stuff. And eventually, we ended up coming back home. And when I got home, I was still in contact with him. I was still communicating with him and everything. And it was just getting worse. Even over the phone, it was getting worse. So I cut it off. And when I cut it off, God came through again. And there was a message on my phone that said, you can finally be at peace now. I'm like, huh? And it didn't make sense until after I found out that my son's father was in jail because he had a gun and all this other stuff. Like, do y'all see how God saved me out of that? If I was still out there, if I was being disobedient and I didn't, let God take control, that man could have killed me, And I say to this day that God is amazing. Like, that is why I'm so on fire for God. That's why I even changed my life around. That's what made me stop smoking. That's what made me stop just being in this world, because the things that God did for me, nobody else did it. God saved me. God truly saved me. And that is my testimony. That's one of my testimonies. I actually have two, y'all. That's one of my testimonies. That's just the beginning of what made me really start going after God. So I know that it can be hard sometimes, but through it all, God is there. God is amazing. And I know it's probably women out here who can probably relate to what I've been through, because lately, these men in this world, yeah. So I just want to get on here and just let y'all know that God is just amazing. You will see God show up. And sometimes you have to go through a painful experience to even go to God, to even draw yourself to God. Painful experiences will pull you closer to God. And when it does pull you closer to God, you'll see that following God is the most amazing thing that you can do. It is so worth it. Yes, it does get hard. You will have attacks. The enemy will try to bring you back to your past self, but you got to remind the enemy of his future. Don't even tune the enemy out. Take every thought that he sends to you captive and give it to God, and watch God handle that for you. So yeah, I hope somebody can relate to this, and I hope that this message gets to someone. And I pray that y'all continue to follow me on this journey, and that y'all invite yourselves to a Step of Faith Ministries. I pray y'all have a blessed day, and that God covers y'all and protects y'all and holds y'all hand through this life. Love y'all.